Do you know why bronze people stay in bronze as well as silvers and golds? Well, I'm not rank shaming. Sorry if I felt like doing that. But look at this.
Take our light.
Did you do any damage? A full clip. No damage. Because they don't buy this. This is the reason that people are stuck in bronze, silver, and gold. They just don't buy this item. They don't. Instead, they buy these two. Why? Why? This item literally makes support's life harder because they have to wait 1.5 seconds in order to actually heal someone effectively. Okay? They have to wait. Now, this item is also the reason that low elo players think that Seris is better than Genos, because lower elo players do not actually buy Cauterize. But let me just show you that even without Cauterize, Seris is still bad as a heal bot. I'm gonna change to her and I'm gonna play this useless talent. Let me show you how useless it is. Okay, so I'm basically playing Mortal Reach on whatever loadout I have for it, or whatever. I'm just gonna hold right mouse button and see if I can keep Fernando alive.
You still have you.
Remember, I can't shoot or do anything else right now. And I don't have Luna to be shooting at enemies or doing any utility. All I'm doing is holding this. Okay? Now, let's stop for now, since basically Fernando's going to eventually die even without Cauterize, but it takes so long to do, even on Seris. I'm gonna do the mistake that players do and buy Kronos on Seris. This is a mistake, just to show you the difference, okay? And he's gonna be at this HP forever. Because the enemy, which is a Cassie bot, isn't buying Cauterize. Okay, so even the worst healer in the game will actually be able to keep everyone alive as long as Cauterize isn't a thing. Which is the case in lower elo. People don't buy Cauterize. Okay, that's why Seris feels good in lower elo. However, let's switch to an actual good champion such as Furia, for example, and show you that when we buy Chronos 3, we can do exactly the same thing. Oh, I don't have the credits for it. Okay, let me just go ahead and get some credits. Okay, now we have Chronos 3 on Furia. This is the difference that it makes.
Keep up the good work.
He's gonna stay at half HP forever. Forever. Because Cauterize doesn't exist. It doesn't matter anyway. So basically, Furia is better than Seris for many reasons. She has a stun. She can do other things after healing. She's not stuck in the channeling animation while healing. And her healing isn't over time. 1000 of it is instant, and then you have 400 over 2 seconds. So most of it is instant, okay? That's why Furia is always going to be better than Seris. Please, if you're still a new player, try to move away from Seris. She's just bad. Okay, so that was our talk about Cauterize and Kronos. Cauterize will simply disable the enemy support's ability to keep someone in the fight. All they're gonna be doing late game is mitigating half a shot or one shot at best. Okay, that's what supports are gonna do if you are affected by Cauterize 3. You're gonna get only 25% of the healing. So instead of getting the instant 1k, you're getting 250. Instead of getting the 400 over 2 seconds, you're getting 100. So Furia will heal for 350, well, over 2 seconds, by the way. 250 instant, and then 100 over 2 seconds when someone's affected by Cauterize 3. Seris will heal for 375, but it's all over time, and it's over 1.5 seconds if you're not running Mortal, and it's around 600 if you're playing Mortal Reach, but it's also over time, and it's over 2.5 seconds. Okay, healing over time is bad. Well, not actually bad as in really, really bad, but you still want to be able to do other things. Now, on IO, you are still healing over time. It's 1k every second and 250 every single second if you're affected by Cauterize 3. And yet, even though that is a thing that seems like Seris, a heal bot, basically, you have this. Luna can still fight while you're healing someone. She can capture the objective. She can push the payload. That's utility. Let's have her shoot a bit. You're still doing something, okay? Unlike Seris, you still are doing something, and you also have the stun. It's not gonna happen against these bots because they are CC immune, but you get the idea. Basically, Seris is bad because she lacks utility. She's stuck in her channeling animation while healing, and well, that's it. If you want to play Seris, please only play Soul Collector Seris and get a good loadout for it. It's this one. This is the throw pick. This is just sad, and this is what you want to do, even if you're healing, by the way. Okay, if you are the off support, it's obviously gonna be this one. But if for whatever reason you want to play Seris, please at least play Soul Collector. It makes you harder to kill. It allows you to 1v1 most flankers in the game, okay? With the extra damage you have and the extra health, if you get a good loadout for it. Let's go ahead and talk about morale boosts. Some champions, such as Ying, will actually buy morale boost first. There are other champions that will do the same, such as Grog, for example, or Pip sometimes. So basically, morale boost is good because of one thing. If you keep on buying it, you're going to end up being able to ult twice per round, okay? And then have your ult almost ready for the next round. What I mean by almost ready is around 90%, which means as soon as you reach the point or the objective with your team, it's gonna be ready for you to ult again. So basically, if your ult is a game changer, you are going to be needing to buy morale boosts. So for example, if we go back to Furia, her ult is the best one in the game on supports right now. The second one is Ying's, the one we were on before. So what do you buy as Furia? You first finish off buying Chronos, and then you buy morale boost. That's how you do it, okay? On Ying, it's the other way around. Your ultimate is way more important than your cooldowns. You already have 2 healing sources as Ying. If you're playing Focusing Glints or Resonance for some reason, like for example your team went double support, well then you still want to buy morale boost and not Chronos, because your main healing source is sadly now, well, it's only the clones, and your ult is needed to keep the team alive, okay? If you're running solo support Ying as a damage, like Focusing Glints or Resonance, please learn this. This is a team game, okay? You're the support, not the damage. If you're not the first or second pick, you're not supposed to be playing damage or flank. If you're any of the later ones, you're actually supposed to be doing tank, off tank, and support. Okay, which is kind of sad, I understand that. If you're a support main, you might find yourself as the first or second pick. Please understand that you need to be able to flank and do damage as well. This game has no mercy towards maining anything. Okay, so you're going to be forced to not play Ying if you're a support main and happen to be the first or second pick. Now, if you're in higher elo, like really high, like a master, most of the time you're gonna get a match full of diamond players that actually can be trusted to do damage and flanking. Okay, so yes, if you're that high on elo, you might trust your allies, but most of the time it's not going to be the case. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, if you're playing damage, the items you would want to buy are always going to be Cauterize first. Okay, don't look at Life Rip right now. I'm only buying it for Victor right now for an example that I'm going to be showing later. Okay, so you're always going to want to buy Cauterize and make it Cauterize 3 as fast as you can. Okay, Wrecker. When do you buy Wrecker? Well, you have to understand that some enemy champions will not be affected by it at all. So for example, you're up against Terminus, that's not a shield. His Siphon is not a shield. It's a thing that erases all projectiles. Atlas's shield, it's not a shield. Okay, it does not get affected by Wrecker. It's indestructible. Okay, Rom, his armor is not affected by Wrecker. Okay, it's not even affected by Cauterize. The armor isn't affected by Cauterize. He is affected by Cauterize. Okay, so Wrecker is kind of in a spot where most of the time you're not even gonna see it because people run, for example, Inara. Inara is not affected by Wrecker. Her wall is a deployable. It's affected by Bulldozer, not Wrecker. Basically, you always want to run Cauterize 3 as fast as possible. If the enemy has 2 shields or maybe an annoying shield, then you would buy Wrecker. However, there is a case in the game where buying Wrecker helps the enemy, and that's Half Shell Makoa, because you will be giving him resets. Okay, the more late game it is, the more resets he's gonna get. His shield is on a 1-second cooldown if it's completely destroyed on the correct loadout for Half Shell. You don't want to give him resets. What you want to do to deal with that is, instead of doing that, have your off tank and your point tank maybe gang up on him, because they can get inside the shield and kill him from inside. Kill his entire team first, then he's alone, he's a sitting duck. Okay, that's how you deal with Half Shell Makoa. Don't buy a Wrecker for him, you're just gonna give him more resets. Now, why did I even buy Life Rip, okay, on Victor? Now, of course, on Vic, you're gonna want to buy Cauterize first. If there are no shields, you're gonna buy Morale Boost because your ult is really good, and you build it up really fast if you're a good Victor. So why would I even consider buying Life Rip? Well, simple enough. I'm just gonna show you the card and tell you the requirements of buying Life Rip. In order to actually make good use of Life Rip, you need built-in lifesteal first. Strange, I know, but you need to have built-in lifesteal first. Let me show you why. Basically, 40% lifesteal is in your base loadout. After buying Life Rip 2, which I have already, this says 20%, but once it's affected by diminishing returns, it's gonna be 10%. So it's going to give me a total of 50% with my built-in lifesteal on Predator 5. So basically now, when I shoot a burst, it will deal 660 damage at close range, okay, at full effectiveness. So basically, that 660, if you divide it by half for the 50% lifesteal, is healing yourself for 330 per burst, and the burst happens over half a second. Okay, so heal yourself for 330 every half a second, or heal yourself for 660 every second, as long as you're hitting all the shots. Now, at range, you're gonna be dealing less than 660. So let's go ahead and do our calculations while thinking that we're dealing 600 and not 660 per burst. So we're dealing 1200 damage every second and healing ourselves for 600 on Life Rip 2. Okay, every second. When you apply Cauterize 3, this is gonna be 150 healing every second, which is exactly the same amount as Ying's ultimate under Cauterize 3. This is the reason that Victor is good, and why you still buy Life Rip 2 on Victor while the enemy has Cauterize 3 after you finished up Cauterize 3 yourself. And Morale Boost sometimes. It gives you way too much sustain. This is what lets you win every time against Maeve, and gives you the chance to win against Eevee before she bursts you down. This is the reason that Victor is so good at high elo. Unlike most people think, he's not a noob champion, he's really great, okay? Now, there are other champions that can benefit from Life Rip. They are Moji. She doesn't even need the built-in life rip. It has a condition on it, which is if the enemy is affected by the full stacked mark, then you're gonna get 40% lifesteal. The card's name is Greater Good. Okay, it's a good card. You're always gonna want to run it at 5. It heals you for 400 once you burst down that mark. Okay? Then you have Koga, who is bad on PC, but surprisingly okay or good on console. He buys life rip just to get some sustain in order to stay in the fight. Okay, so he needs life rip regardless of the fact that he does not have built-in life steal. Instead, let me just show you the card. I don't remember which one it is. Okay, it's this one on the right. Trigger Happy. This will increase the effect of any healing source on you, including life steal, by 50%. So you probably want to run this card when you're playing Koga and buying life rip. Okay? And please understand that yes, you need Cauterize, otherwise you're not gonna be killing anyone unless you first off finish off the support. Okay? And please never play Koga. Koga is kind of in such a bad state right now because he loses 1v1 to Fernando. Of all the tanks, the lowest DPS tank wins 1v1 against Koga. By the way, Koga as a whole is bad on PC. He's a joke. The only reason he's good on console is because, well, you have so much ammo that missing a few shots isn't gonna do anything. And aim assist on console makes you good. On PC, everyone's just gonna burst you down, or stun you, or deal with you in so many ways. He's bad. He's really bad. Even with Genos. He's mediocre at best with Genos. Okay? So keep that in mind. When do you buy kill to heal? Well, never unless you're the support. Really, never unless you're the support, because you're relying on eliminations. Now, the best support that gets the most benefit out of kill to heal is Grover, because anyone around him in his radius of healing is going to give him eliminations, okay? So basically, why would you not ever consider running kill to heal as anyone other than a support? Well, simple enough. You're getting shot at while you're actually getting that kill, okay? So if we look at the tier 3 of kill to heal, it's 900. If you were affected by Cauterize 3, that's going to heal you once you get the kill for only 225, which is basically really nothing in the late game. So it didn't heal you for enough to get one more shot from a support and survive it. It's really that sad, okay? Even early game, funny enough, the number 225, it's the same early game. If you start the game by buying kill to heal and the enemy bought Cauterize and you kill them in anyway, you're only gonna get healed for 225 on tier 1. It's really a bad card when you have a support on your team. So let me reiterate this. You never start with life rip nor kill to heal. They do nothing to you unless, as I've shown already, you already have built-in life steal, and yet you don't start the game with them. Okay? Moji is okay to start with life rip, same with Koga on console only, just because they deal a lot of damage. Not Koga, Moji. Moji's damage is 1850 every second. So yeah, what if the enemy got healed? Just one more second and they're dead anyway. You deal 3600 every 2 seconds on Moji if you're timing your shots correctly. Okay, that basically means that even if they get healed for around 1400, okay, they're still gonna die if they're squishy. They're still going to die in 2 seconds. That's why it's okay to start by buying life rip 1 and then buying Cauterize. But still, please understand that Cauterize is always gonna give you more value, because once you start getting good players against you, life rip is not going to help you that much. You're only going to be poking and not getting kills. You're not gonna be dealing that insane damage anyway, unless you go from behind or do something, or like make a gank attack with your entire team. Okay, that's when life rip would still work. Still, please always buy Cauterize first. Try to do it all the time. Never buy kill to heal unless you're a support. The eliminations are what heals you and gives you more sustain. Okay, now Grover's entire self-sustain isn't in his cards, it's in his own ability to heal himself. When you heal anyone, you heal yourself as well. Even the passive heal is always on you as well. It's not a heal in the cards. Furia, Seris, Io all heal themselves. They have their self-sustain in cards. Okay, let me just show you an example of what I mean. Furia, you play something like, where is it? Burning Oath. Heal for 525 over 3 seconds. That's considered the lowest self-sustain on supports, by the way. 525 over 3 seconds basically means that unless you get out of Cauterize's effect, you're not gonna heal yourself for anything. It's over time. Over time. This is sad. Okay, it's a bad self-sustain, but Furia is kind of aggressive enough in order to be able to withstand living 3 seconds. She might even kill the enemy flanker if she gets the stun in. Now, I'm gonna need to demonstrate something about Nimble and movement speed buffs in general in the game, and I'm using Drogoz on Wormjets on this loadout, which I understand it's a bad loadout, okay? This is just a joke loadout, 3-3-3-3-3. Yeah, I understand that, okay? So I just won't use Frost. I'll just move from this pillar to the other side of the map and see both how high and how far I can go. I'm just holding space and forward, nothing else. I've reached the bottom of that ledge and this spot right here on the map. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same thing but with Nimble 3. Okay, same test with Nimble 3. Same ledge, same height, literally, and barely a step forward compared to the last time. It was like around here. It's just a step forward. That's all it gave us. Okay, so basically Nimble does not affect vertical mobility. It just does not do that. Okay, you can try the test out yourself multiple times. Let's just go ahead and do it real fast right now. So one more time, just to make sure that vertical mobility didn't get affected. We've reached the bottom of this ledge. Yep, again, bottom of the ledge. No vertical movement speed buffs are in the game. Okay, you don't go higher if Io is increasing your speed, or Torvald with Wind Dancer on Torvald, or Swift Arrows on Io. She doesn't work with that card while she has flying champions such as Drogoz. So when would you consider buying Nimble? We're gonna consider all the possible situations. We've already excluded vertical mobility, okay? So the situations are, well, first, you're a support that actually benefits from movement speed for repositioning, such as Io. Well, most of the supports do, okay? Still, Io benefits the most from it. If you have a movement speed penalty on using certain abilities, such as with Shaolin, or maybe even Vivian, or maybe even Victor while he's scoped in, okay? These 3 damage champions have movement speed penalties on certain things they do, while they're firing on Vivian and Shaolin, and while he's scoped as Victor. Now, all 3 of these have built-in cards. Let me show you. Let me just use this and they did it. So, they all have movement speeds cards built in, and yet this will not get affected by diminishing returns on tier 2 of Nimble. This is why you see Shaolin players buying Nimble 2 at the start of the match instead of Cauterize, because, well, one, they're not a great Cauterize spreader. They need to just keep shooting the same enemy in order to get kills, and they shoot once every 1.25 seconds if not using recurve. Okay, and recurve isn't really the best. All 3 talents are situational. So let me just show you. If I'm standing here, I'm gonna withdraw the bow and try to move right and see if I can hit the other side, which is right here of the door, just by holding and getting affected by the penalty while I have Wanderlust at 4. Nope, it was a little bit further. I'm just gonna buy Nimble 2. That was a bad start. Let's just... Yep, exactly the start of the door. Now, this isn't much space, but what this does is it fights against your movement speed penalty. Okay, buying Nimble helps you with that. So you're not a sitting duck, you're not an easy target. You're just a little bit harder to hit. And that's why you would want to buy Nimble. Okay, now on champions like Vivian, let's just go ahead and switch to Vivian.
Better spend these credits.
Okay, doesn't matter what loadout we're using. Look at this card. 30% movement speed already built in. Diminishing returns is going to affect any Nimble you buy. Let's go ahead and see how much you get on each tier. Okay, I've already done the math on it. And you get on Nimble 1, you get 35% movement speed with that card at 5 points. Okay, it's 30% from the card, and Nimble 1 will give you 5.8%. Okay, Nimble 2 is going to end up giving you 41% movement speed while you're not firing, and Nimble 3 is going to give you 46% movement speed while you're not firing. If you're firing, that's going to be slower, but still, it's good to have it. Okay, even with the card at 30%, because the calculation for diminishing returns is different on movement speed buffs. So yeah, you would still buy Nimble on Vivian, because that makes you really annoying to deal with. Your shield is up, you're moving very erratically, and you're shooting the enemy. You're gonna kill them in 1.8 seconds if they're close to you. So yeah, you buy Nimble on them. Now, Victor does not really need Nimble, because he also has a card. Let me just show you the card anyway, which is this one, Firing Stance. So it's up to 50%, but really you don't have the budget for it. You need to put more points on Grenadier. Well, simple enough, this is still good enough on its own, and you would rather be buying Cauterize as fast as possible, and then late game you might consider this instead of Wrecker, for example, since most compositions these days don't have shields for you to wreck. Okay, so yeah, you might consider it, but it's not seen that much. Let's go ahead and talk about Master Riding and finish off the yellow items for now. Master Riding is mandatory on maps like Ice Mines, where the team that has it first, after they've bought Cauterize of course, is going to always have the advantage. Ice Mines is a point fight oriented map. You have to be on the point in order to play the map. That's it. There's also an alternative name for this item, which is Master Feeding. If you're dying a lot, you need this. If you're the support and your team isn't saving your life like they should, and by the way, in higher elo, supports usually only die 4 times per match. Yeah, that's how low supports die in higher elo, because players know they need to protect the support. So basically, most supports won't be buying this because they're staying alive. Okay? This really is a good name, Master Feeding, because when you're feeding and dying a lot, you need to rejoin the fight much earlier. Now on tier 3, you're really not gonna be that late for the fight. It's gonna be each 20 seconds on all maps other than Ice Mines, you're gonna be back in the fight. Okay, so it's really good to have it. It's really good to have it if you're dying a lot. On flankers, it's really good since, well, most of the time when you're new to the game, you're probably diving, which is wrong. I might just post a how to flank guide later on, but still, I don't consider myself such a great flanker. I'm mediocre at best. Okay, remember, I'm cursed. I'm always the 5th pick because I'm doing with the Grandmaster. Okay, I'm always last pick because I duo with the Grandmaster, and he doesn't care because he knows I'm gonna be either the greatest point tank ever or the greatest support he's ever seen in his life. Imagine boosting about yourself. Okay, whatever. So basically, you need this if you're dying a lot. Otherwise, you don't need it. On maps like Ice Mines, everyone's gonna buy it, and that's the item. Go ahead and talk about these 2 items. Now, I'm going to do this calculation assuming you have 2200 HP and you're fighting against a sniper. Haven 1 is all you need. Okay, let's explain why. It's a 7% reduction on damage taken. Snipers will deal 1200 damage on body shots, and you have 2200 HP as a base from our calculation. Okay, I've used 2200 because it's the best health for nearly all supports and nearly all damage champions. Tyra has 2400 as base, for example. All damage champions can go up to 2450, except Tyra, she can go even further. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, there's also Leon. Leon can only go up to 2250. Okay, kind of sad, but still, let's go ahead and do the calculation. So basically 1200 is what a sniper's shot will do. You have 7% damage reduction, meaning that they'll be dealing only 93% damage dealt, okay? So 7% reduction means 93% damage received or dealt. That means that a 1200 shot now will only deal 1116. Okay, let's go ahead and write that. If we multiply that number by 2 shots are gonna be 2232. What does that mean? Well, simple enough. You're playing Victor, for example, and you have Predator at 5. If you just hit one shot, okay, if you just hit one shot, you've already healed yourself for that 32, okay? Now let's go ahead and look at this. Our current HP, which is 2250, is greater than this number, which means that we'll still be alive if we get shot twice by a sniper on Haven 1 and 2250, which is what supports do, by the way. They buy Haven 1 against a sniper and make sure their health is at least this much. Okay, even 2200 works as long as they heal themselves for 32. But still, 2250 is safer. Maybe your healing is on cooldown. Maybe someone else just breathed on you and you're dead anyway. Since this is just like, what, 20 damage? Anyone just can shoot you, or maybe even an area of effect attack can affect you and then you're dead. So still, it helps, but it's not a guaranteed like, oh, snipers now don't two-tap me. If anyone else breathes on you, you're dead. But it helps. So yeah, Haven 1 is the anti-sniper item. Now keep in mind, the example of Haven really only works well against snipers. For example, Cassie, on her combo of just using her blast shot and her crossbow shots, is gonna instantly deal 1280 to you, okay? And only the 680 from her in hand is affected by Haven, since blast shot is a blast shot. Duh. So you're gonna be taking 1232 damage instead of the usual 680 plus 600 is, well, that's 1280. That's not a reduction that's worth it. Okay, so if you're not running against a sniper, Haven 1 might not even be considered. Okay, and please, let's look at Leon and show you why you don't buy Haven against Leon. And I know that Leon isn't great, okay? Let's just go ahead and play whatever. Look at this. Her main weapon, direct damage. Grace is direct damage. However, Presence and Valor, okay, are area damage. The highest damage abilities on her are affected by blast shields, not Haven. That's why Eevee players buy blast shields against Leon. Okay? Why do you keep blaming them? Why do you blame them? You're supposed to buy blast if you're Maeve or Eevee against Leon. Okay? This is just sad. Yeah, and Grace is a direct damage. Unless Alacrity, why would anyone run Alacrity? Converts it into a area damage. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, so we've already talked about Leon and blast shields. Now, who else is going to give you blast damage? Well, obviously it's gonna be the blasters, okay? Ashe, well, she only does 400 damage. It's not much, but it's still gonna be affected by blast shields. And you don't buy blast shields for this, okay? Dredge, the blast champion. Okay, even his harpoon, let's look at it. Okay, when he's playing Hurl, the good talent on Dredge, if we just press K, harpoon is also area damage because it pierces. It's not like Cassie's shot, okay? Cassie hits one enemy, this goes through any enemies in a line. So it's an area damage. It's easy to hit, actually. So basically, Dredge is gonna be affected by blast shields. Now, if you're up against Dredge, then you better hope that your flanker knows what they're doing, otherwise you're kind of dead, okay? In higher elo, you're now seeing Dredge players play him, even though he cannot be playing with Cauterize. Okay, so there are two ways of playing Dredge. Well, three really, okay? All talents are viable, sort of. But Scuttle is really sad, because if you don't get into the late game, you're gonna be useless, because on Scuttle, what you do is play something like this, you buy Deft Hands 3, and then Cauterize. What is Scuttle? Scuttle is for noobs. Okay, let's go ahead and look at it. Okay, the projectile launched by reloading your weapon explodes in a 20 unit radius area on contact. This is the entire talent. It's on contact. Look at this. Okay, and now look at the reload. It's gonna explode on the wall. So basically what reloaders on Dredge do is they just reload. It's 2 shots. Oh, it's 2 shots. Oh, it's 2 shots. One doesn't hit always. It doesn't always hit. You're not gonna hit a flying andro with that. Okay? And this is why people laugh at Scuttle Dredge players and say that they're so stupid. They're just spamming, spamming, and spamming. And yes, Dredge needs a nerf. Okay? So basically, what I'm saying is, if you want to play Dredge, play Hurl. Okay, let's just switch the loadout. You play Hurl, you don't buy Cauterize because Harpoon does not apply Cauterize. Okay, you're not a great Cauterize spreader, and you play this loadout. This is the loadout on Dredge. And then what you do is, you first set up your teleports. Okay, I can do them here. Gonna place one here. Okay, you put one in a safe spot, and then you can spam on the point, and then when you see a value target like an enemy support, you start spamming this until they die. And there's a support. They're not gonna get themselves healed unless there is a double support composition. If there are 2 tanks coming, I mean not 2 tanks, an off tank and the flanker coming at you, this pierces. Okay? The only tank that's going to stop you is Terminus as Dredge. Okay? Now, Khan's shield will block your Harpoon, but still, for example, if they're being followed by Andro, sorry, Andro might just be flying up in the air and you can just Harpoon him for 800 damage a shot. While also, look at the loadout, you're healing yourself for 200 every second while just standing near the shortcut, and for 400 for each enemy hit by Harpoon. Now under Cauterize 3, this is gonna be 50 and this is gonna be 100. So 150 every second, which is exactly Ying's ultimate all the time. Okay? That's how great the sustain is. And you also have a 600 shield every 30 seconds, meaning that this is actually 2800. You have the highest sustain in the game. And people don't know how to play neither Vivian nor Dredge. They're the most basic champions in the game, and people don't know how to play them. Laughable, really. So let's go back to items. This counters Dredge. Not counters him, it just helps a bit. It helps a bit, because he deals 850 on his main weapon shots. You never use broadside on Dredge, it deals 950, I understand that. The only uses are bursting down Luna, or Inara's wall, or a shield. That's the entire purpose of broadside, okay? You'd never want to use this. People can just walk through it. Literally, they don't need to use any mobility. Just walk through it. If they use their mobility, they're now behind you. What are you gonna do, spam it? At your feet? Yeah, that's the only viable use, by the way, for broadside, other than blasting down Luna. You use it on your feet, and then retreat while spamming. Okay, so, like this. Or maybe, spam this, and then Harpoon. Okay, so the enemy is gonna be afraid of following you now, since you're spamming from 2 sources. That's how you use broadside to retreat. You can do the same with your ult. Okay, so at your feet, not try to snipe with it, because anyone can just walk out of it with their mobility, sometimes even without it. Okay, now let's go back to items and talk about Blast Shield's effect on other champions. What else is affected? Well, where is he? Terminus. His axe is area damage. Moji, she has 2 sources of damage. Let's just not boom boom toot. This is the loadout you go for. And she has direct damage on Familiar Spit, which is the 1k damage, the burst damage. This is affected by Haven, and Familiar Spit, or Spray, sorry, which is this, is gonna be affected by Blast Shields. So you would rather buy Haven against Moji, since she's going to only be dealing 600 damage, I think, every second with the spray, while dealing an instant 1k damage on the spit. So Haven 1 will help with the spit more than the spray. Okay? It affects the spit. You don't buy Blast against Moji. You buy Haven. Other champions that get affected by Blast Shields, well, let's look at the roster from the start. Fernando is going to be affected. Drogoz is going to be affected. He's a blaster. Imani, well, Imani is a direct damage champion. Okay? The only thing that's going to be affected by Blast Shields, let's just use this. Well, area damage is on her Frost Bomb and Inferno Cannon. Meanwhile, everything else on her is direct damage. So you don't buy Blast Shields against Imani, even if she's playing Pyromania or the Fire style. Okay? This is direct damage, it's not Blast. Bomb King, of course, he's a blaster, so Haven isn't gonna affect him. What's gonna affect him is Blast Shields. Grok, funny enough, let's look at his ability. Whatever. So, area damage on Shock Pulse, which he spams all the time. Okay? So, if this is annoying you, Heaven's not gonna do anything about it. And please keep this in mind. The reason Grok players don't buy Cauterize at first is because this does not apply Cauterize. This does not apply Cauterize. That's why they don't start by buying Cauterize most of the time. They usually buy Morale Boost because the ult is really good. Okay? Pip is also a blaster. Tyra's Firebomb is a blast ability. Well, and that's that. Okay, there are some blast abilities on talents, like for example Shaolin's Sand Trap. This makes it so that it's an actual blast shot. But still, you wouldn't buy blast shields for them. Okay, against blasters such as BK and Greg and Drogoz, it's good. Against others, it's questionable. Okay, Eevee, she is also a blaster, so she's not going to be affected by Heaven. And you might consider buying blast shields if you're the support against Eevee, or if you're Kenessa, for example. Okay, so Eevee's gonna be, if you're up against, if these two are against each other, Kenessa's gonna be buying blast shield, sorry, and Eevee's gonna be buying Haven, so that she doesn't get one shot by a random headshot. Deft Hands. This is not an item you buy as Victor, no matter what. Okay, there's no situation where you need it as Victor. You don't buy it. Okay, we're gonna talk about who buys it and why in a bit. So let's go ahead and show you Maldamba. Now, you wouldn't be running Wikono's Wrath if you're running solo support Maldamba. Okay, the thing about him is this stun. The stun does not happen to be repeatable. What I mean by that is, look, not stunned, and then stunned. If I do it really fast, if you keep reloading on the same enemy, he's gonna be not stunned for 3 reloads, and then the 4th one will stun him. Of course, he's gonna be dead by that time, okay? But still, you need to keep that in mind for Maldamba. If you're running a Deft Hands build, okay, on Maldamba, you don't want to keep on stunning the same enemy if you're not playing 1v1 against a flanker. If you're attacking an enemy tank and there's someone else, reload on that someone else. Now neither of them is gonna get stunned. Of course that one died. Okay? So Deft Hands is good on Maldamba because of his reload related ability. Let's go ahead and switch to Dredge. We've already shown this. So some people like to play Scuttle, whatever. Just gonna buy Deft Hands. And then they just reload. And they keep reloading. Okay? Because the on-contact explosion is easy to land. Not on flying enemies, on land enemies, okay? It's easy to land on them, and it's it's way too slow. It's actually, let's just go ahead and see the damage. It's 850, but it's easy to land, okay? Almost a BK bomb, actually, but really easy to land. That's the reason that people, when they play a Scuttle, they buy Deft Hands. If you're not buying Deft Hands, there really is no reason. I mean, if you're not playing Scuttle, sorry, there is no reason to buy Deft Hands. Because, let's just show you that. If I have Deft Hands like I do right now, the explosion is really small. The reload explosion. See? Nope, didn't hit anyone. So if you want to buy Deft Hands on Dredge, you have to be playing this. If you want to play this, the enemy must not have a flying flanker. Okay? That's the case on Dredge. You only play this when there's no flying flankers. This counters flying flankers. This is good when you want to hold off a lane as Dredge. Okay? Still, this is always going to be the best talent on Dredge. And you don't buy Deft Hands on Dredge when playing the best talent, because it does nothing for you. You reload using this card while you're playing Hurl. So you're firing at a point tank, or bursting down Luna, or a wall, or something, while you're reloading with this. Each hit is a one-shot back in your magazine. Okay? So these two do buy Deft Hands, because there is an ability related to reloading on them. Okay? So basically, there is one more champion that might buy Deft Hands, and that's Combat Medic only on Pip, because you heal your allies with your own shots. And it's not a good talent, by the way. Okay, it's really bad. Really, really bad to be playing Pip as a support. Now, why don't other champions buy Deft Hands? Well, simple enough. Most of them don't even need it, and some of them have built-in cards for it. Let's just show you this card. After you use Detonate, you can get more reload speed for 3 seconds, and this is currently stackable. Okay, this is annoying. So if you detonate twice, your reload's gonna be really fast, and you can do that 3 times for a near instant reload. But still, most people only do it twice if they really need to reload. So they do it like this. Okay, now let's look at, for example, Vivian. Okay, not Vivian. Vivian might buy Deft Hands. Okay, she might buy it as a late game item only. Her reload's kind of slow. Okay, she might buy Deft Hands late game only. Always keep your priority on Cauterize. She might not even need it, by the way. Now let's look at Buck. Buck surprisingly does not need Deft Hands, regardless of which talent you play and regardless of your loadout. Why? Well, 5 shots are enough for you to kill 1 enemy. Okay, if you're playing Bounce House, you might even kill 2 enemies with your 5 shots. Then you hide behind a corner, let's just empty the magazine, and then you reload. When you're in cover, you don't reload while you're in the fight. Okay, that's a slow reload. Okay, when do you buy Deft Hands? If you're Buck, as the last item after you've bought Cauterize, which you need, and then maybe you might want to buy, I don't know, Haven. You might buy Haven, you might buy Nimble, you might buy Kronos. Depends on your play style on Buck. Deft Hands is good only to, well, give you more chance to play against 2 enemies as Buck. You don't buy Deft Hands as Buck, even though it literally gives you infinite ammo. On Deft Hands 3, you shoot as fast as you can. Okay, let me just shoot. Okay, I'm just holding left mouse button. You have infinite ammo, and yet good Buck players don't need it. Okay, Deft Hands 3 on Buck is infinite ammo. There's a bad card. Okay, let's just go ahead and edit this. It's this one, Street Sweeper. It's a built-in reload speed, and people don't run it because you don't have the budget for it, and it's bad anyway. Okay, it's at best Deft Hands 1 for free on your loadout. You don't have the budget for it. So no, Buck does not start by buying Deft Hands. He builds Cauterize 3 and then might consider buying Deft Hands 1, and 1 is enough. Another type of reload related or ammo related cards is this one, Open Season. Now Kinessa does consume 4 shots every time she shoots her sniper in snipe mode, but even if she doesn't have 4 bullets, she still can fire for the full damage. So only running 1 point on this card is more than enough. Okay, let's just prove that. Doesn't matter, don't need to save it. Just you can charge the whole shot and it's gonna deal the full 1200. And the card is making me not consume the last shot. Okay? And this is why Kenessa doesn't buy Deft Hands. This card is more than enough on 1 point only. Okay? I've even seen Strix players, surprisingly enough, Strix buying Deft Hands, and I do not understand why. Where is he? Right here. Let's just run a random loadout like this one, okay? This loadout has, well, 5 extra shots. You have 5 at base on your sniper, and then 5 extra from that card. You have 10 shots. That's 12k damage in the magazine. And by the way, if you're a good Strix, you never use your pistol to shoot. That's really rare. Okay, you only use it for the flare, and then if you need to shoot someone that's close, just try to no-scope them. Your no-scope shots happen every 0.7 seconds, by the way. 1200 damage each and every 0.7 seconds is great. Even though, look at this, it's not consistent, it's still better than the pistol. The pistol, let's just try to do this. Each shot is 165. You need 10 full shots to deal the same amount of damage. Well, not the same, a little bit more than just this. Okay? So you basically are always trying to no scope when you're really close. I'm just unlucky today. By the way, it's really funny when you get a random headshot when you no scope against an Eevee. Okay? Now, if you want to watch a Strix player doing really great against an Eevee without ever resorting to the pistol, go watch Z1 Unknown's Frog Isle Strix gameplay video. He has multiple of those, and most of them have Eevee against him, where he keeps on killing her over and over and over. You're that good as Strix, but still Kenessa is always going to be better in my opinion. Now, we're going to talk about these 2 items right now, just to finish off the green items. So, Veteran is not an item you buy under any circumstances. There are literally no reasons to buy it. Okay? Sometimes, if you're smurfing for some reason, okay, smurfing isn't fun, by the way. You're always dealing with the worst possible ever teams on both sides. So it's a, how many kills can I get before we either win or lose, just depending on who stood on the points for longer. Really. So Veteran is not an item that you would buy. It, first off, requires you to stay out of combat to get any effect out of it. If you're a tank, okay, for some reason, you might get benefit out of it if you keep staying out of combat. But really, there's no reason or nothing good that you can get out of this item. Now, if this was like, instead of being an additional percentage of health every second, if it was reducing the time needed to get out of combat, that would have been kind of okay. Maybe good, okay? But still, this item is something that you only buy to troll, to throw the game, to spit in your support's face. Literally, okay? That's what the item is. And it also shows that you're a noob. Okay, Rejuvenate. So Rejuvenate actually happens to exactly counter Cauterize. This means that at Rejuvenate 3, Cauterize's effect is gonna be 60%. Let's switch to a tank first, okay? Let's go ahead and choose Inara. Mother's Grace, whatever loadout you want. And let's go ahead and look at... Keep in mind that diminishing returns exists. I've quit the shooting range because these details weren't shown in it. So basically, you have a built-in 40% healing increase when you are in Elven Guard, and this effect lasts 5 seconds, okay? So basically what this does for you is, at Cauterize 3, the only thing that's gonna be cauterized, or the amount of cauterize that's gonna be applied to, is 35%. Now, Rejuvenate does not completely stack with this, since it's gonna be affected by diminishing returns. As a matter of fact, Rejuvenate 3 is gonna make it 47% instead of 40%. That's not a lot, but it's still really great. It's almost 50% only. So you're playing against Cauterize 2 the entire match as long as Earthen Guard is up. When it's not up, this doesn't apply, and thus you'll get the full 15% Rejuvenate, and you're playing against 60% Cauterize for the rest of the match. So you're toggling between playing with 40% or 47%, sorry, Cauterize, and 60% Cauterize the entire match. Okay? That's the idea behind Rejuvenate being good on tanks like Inara. Let's look at Khan next. He has also built-in Rejuvenate, which is this card. Increase your healing received by 12%. This is less than 30% even with Rejuvenate 3. So you're gonna be getting the full 15 plus 12, which is 27% healing received increase. Okay, it's really great. There are other tanks that do have similar abilities. Well, Barak does not, but for example, Fernando. But his one has a condition. Okay, the condition on Khan was just have your shields up, which is easy. The condition on Inar was have your Earthen Guard up. The condition on Fernando, you have to be below 50%. Okay? Others do have it, like for example Makoa, but it's really rare to find a situation where you would be running it because it's also at 50%. Okay, so if you're running it maybe at 3, where do you find the 3 points for it anyway? Okay, so maybe you would run a loadout like this on half shell Makoa. This on 5, this on 5, this on 1, and maybe this on 1, whatever. Because well, this isn't going to be affected by this card. This says strictly from others. Okay? So keep that in mind. So this might be a possible loadout for maximum sustain. Let's just name it that. Okay? Sustain Koa. Let's hope that the name is saved. Okay, good. It got saved. So basically, most tanks have a card, such as maybe this one, and they nearly all have the same condition of being under 50% or having an ability active. So this is where Rejuvenate shines, if you're already buffing it with a card in your loadout. If you don't have a card, you still want to run it as a tank, since you're the one that's gonna be benefiting the most from heals being increased. You're a tank. You're supposed to be taking damage. Now, Ashe, I don't think she has a card. Let's just look for it. Nope, no increase on healing. Ashe does not have a card like that. Ruckus probably does not. He also has look at this card. Increase your movement speed by 5%. This does nothing. Okay, this is a bad card. He doesn't have a built-in Rejuvenate card, but still, you would always want to buy Rejuvenate. Barak doesn't have one, he still buys Rejuvenate. Okay, so it's an item that's great on tanks, but there is a different situation that you would also buy it on. Let's go ahead and talk about Corvus, who's currently broken. Okay, I'm gonna explain it, so if you don't agree, please hear this first and then make another opinion. If you want to change your opinion, if you want to keep yours, it's fine. Okay, it's just my opinion. Corvus is currently broken due to the bugs he has. You always want to play Spreading Influence. This is not that great. It's an easy to land stun, the easiest stun in the game. It's only a second. If people buy Resilience, it's gonna become useless that game. Okay, the damage isn't confirmable. It requires you to be in a bad position unless you've stunned the enemy flanker in your back line. That's good. It's confirmable damage that way. Okay? So you're going to be dealing 1k. 600 from this talent, 400 from hitting them with the projection. That's a 1k hit. People think Corvus can flank on this. No. If you want to flank as Corvus for any reason, you run this. Okay? Let me show you why. Now, basically, I just gotta correct something that I've just said. If you want to main support or off support or flank with Corvus, whatever you want to do, you run this. This is a throw talent, by the way. If you really think about it hard, you're gonna find out why it's a bad talent. You're supposed to be using this against tanks. There are no cooldowns on flankers. CC control reduction, which is resilience for free, isn't that great half the time. 50% reload speed. The only one that needs this is Koga. Koga. This is bad, okay? And Koga doesn't have cooldowns. This is just... Where do you put the mark? Nowhere. So let's go ahead and talk about spreading influence and the bugs related to it. Okay, so you have two loadouts, one without any movement speed and one with movement speed. So if your flankers do benefit from extra speed, you run this. Let's explain the card that makes it all broken, which is Grand Design. An ally that's marked gains an extra 25% lifesteal, and Corvus shares 100% of the healing done due to the marked target's granted lifesteal. The word granted isn't supposed to be here. The bug currently works like this. Victor has 40% built-in lifesteal on Predator, as we've shown. Add 25%, that's 65% of lifesteal. It all goes to Corvus, okay? All the healing that Victor does as damage goes to Corvus as healing. That healing is affected by Corvus himself buying Rejuvenate, okay? So when you have Corvus on your side, no matter what damage and flanker you are, once you've completed Cauterize, you start buying Life Rip. Because you will also not get any diminishing returns whatsoever, even on Life Rip 3. 30%, the card is not affected by diminishing returns for some reason. This means 55% Life Rip on any champion in the game. You can try that out, get a friend, okay? Pick Victor, play against bots, try that out yourself. There's no diminishing returns right now on Grand Design, and that wasn't discussed in the AOC meeting, meaning that it might not be nerfed, and this is why Corvus is OP. So people are going to be buying Cauterize, the damage, not Corvus, and Life Rip. Corvus is going to be buying Chronos and Rejuvenate. So what does that mean? Well, simple enough. You have a composition of Corvus, Moji, Victor. That's the main things. The other two, whatever they want to be, they can be. For example, Io and an off-tank. Okay, that's the most broken composition on Io. On Corvus. You're simply gonna have a team that's not gonna die at all on round 1. The enemy has to 2v1 anyone on your team to get the kill. Corvus himself will win against a good Andrew 1v1 because of the healing done by his allies, especially early game, even in the late game. Okay, he's gonna be broken because no diminishing returns are applied. So let's go ahead and reset our items on Corvus. Once more, you run a loadout like this one if you can benefit from speed. Notice that I'm not running this card in that loadout because you don't need it. Your allies are gonna heal you. This is why you hear Corvus players spamming VHS. Need healing because their allies heal them. Okay? So if you don't have any benefits from movement speed, you might want to run this loadout or maybe even remove this completely. Okay? And then let's just do that right now. I don't like running it like this. Yeah, maybe something like this, or yeah, this is better. This is definitely better. So basically, you're just going to be at an unfair advantage. Really, whomever is playing Corvus is going to have an unfair advantage due to the lack of diminishing returns and how Life Rip entirely goes to, and not just 25%, to Corvus. Now, if this does get, fixed, then this is the only viable loadout. That's what it's gonna be on Corvus. And he's still gonna be good. He just replaced Genos by all means. Because once you've marked someone, you can heal any nearby ally and they'll be healed even if they're at the other side of the map. Okay? You don't need any range card on this. This is why it's broken. It doesn't even break after a certain amount of time or at a certain range. It's just broken OP. Okay? Now, what I would buy as Corvus is gonna be Chronos, Rejuvenate, and Kill to Heal, and finally Haven, or if my team needs it, Cauterize. I don't know. Okay, maybe you'll buy Nimble or Master Riding, Resilience, whatever you need. That's how you play Corvus correctly. You're welcome. Okay, not a lot of items left. There's always gonna be a little bit of controversy related to items. You might never ever see Bulldozer, okay, in games. What Bulldozer affects is, let's just buy it and see the champion select screen for that. Luna on Io is affected by Bulldozer. Inaro's wall is affected by Bulldozer. And Ying's clones are affected by Bulldozer. Barrack's turrets are affected by bulldozers. Imani's dragon affected by Bulldozer. So basically these are the main ones that do happen to be affected by it. Grok's totem is already way too low on health to even consider running Bulldozer against his totem. Okay, so basically that's the main idea about it. You're supposed to buy it just to get rid of Io's fox and Imani's dragon. That's it, literally. You don't need to destroy Barrack's turrets all the time. You can just shoot him instead, actually. Okay, Ying's clones, yes, they heal their enemy, but sometimes you might be able to just pick off the real Ying, and that would just make them disappear. Sometimes she'll get resets on her clones when they're destroyed. You don't want to destroy her clones for that reason. You're giving her resets on them, okay? And her cooldowns are already way too low. So that's basically the item Bulldozer. It's against specific champions. Before we talk about resilience, I've got to state this. The Power Cosmium, it's a cripple on your grip as Genos, okay? Let me just tell you this. This talent becomes completely useless once people buy Resilience 3. Okay? So the enemy on Roxas is gonna have a hard time at the early rounds. If you don't win at round 2 or 3, well, that's too bad, because now you have no talent as Genos. All you have is that little bit of healing, which is 1800 every 10 seconds, okay? On each marked ally. You actually can mark 3 allies at the same time, and then you have nothing else. Your weapon doesn't do that great of damage, and your ultimate is only going to happen once every round, and that's that. You basically lose the game once people buy Resilience 3, because simply enough, your talent will no longer do anything. Okay? More things. Malzamba.
I should spend these credits.
This, the reload related talent, okay? This is my loadout for it right now. If you buy Deft Hands 3, people are gonna buy Resilience. So you're still gonna be dealing damage. We've already shown that there's a 3-second immunity to stuns between reloads. Okay? So after you stun them once, they have full 3 seconds before they can get stunned again. What if they buy Resilience? Well, all you will be doing is cancelling whatever ability they have. For example, if you stun Fernando while he has his shield up, his shield is now on cooldown. He can't bring it up again. If you stun Rom after he dashed, he just lost the dash, but, well, that's all. He's not gonna get stunned except maybe for 0.4 seconds, if I recall correctly. That's not a lot of time. It's still good. It's still good as a stun. It's annoying to play against, but still, people can buy Resilience to counter CC. Now, keep this in mind, because if you are running a CC heavy composition, for example, you have BK, who's got the Grumpy Bomb. You have Atlas, whose setback can actually win point fights. You buy Resilience against him if you see him, if he's gonna get good anytime soon. Mako is not gonna get affected by Resilience. His hook is related to how he spins the camera, I guess, not anything else. Other things that are affected by Resilience: the slow from Inara. Tara's fire bombs slow. Okay, the cripple isn't gonna get affected by Resilience. It's always gonna be there. Okay, any slow, like for example Pip's flask, box ensnare, or you don't need to run ensnare, the net shot. Okay, that's gonna get affected by that. Furia's beam. If your composition has a lot of CC, the item Resilience is gonna get more value for the enemy, and same if it's the other way around. Okay, so the more CC sources there are on the enemy side, and by the way, you do count ultimates on that. Okay, Inara's ultimate is a stun. It's an area of effect stun. It's a really big area too. Maldamba's ult, it's also a kind of a stun. because the Fear State, they literally can't do anything other than walk around. They might even jump off the map sometimes. Okay, it's considered a stun. It's CC. Moji's ability, I mean the ultimate, where she turns you into biscuit, that's also going to be affected. Pip's ultimate also affected, but keep in mind there is a minimum amount of time on it, which is 2 seconds. Okay, you can Resilience's effect has a limiter on it on some abilities. For example, Khan's ultimate, you can't just become immune to it if you have resilience. He has a built-in minimum duration on the ult. Yes, it is gonna be affected by resilience, but still, you're not buying resilience for his ultimate. You're buying it for his stun, which is a 3-second stun. There is 1 second, a lockout animation. It's detailed in the advanced details on Khan, and 2 seconds right here. So you're buying resilience just for him. And that's actually quite a good idea if Khan is there. If you're playing Grom against 1 CC source, you still might want to buy resilience just so that you would be able to get out of dodge as fast as you can if the enemy misused their CC, or if you're running the 5-second cooldown loadout on your dash. So you don't want to get CC'd a lot or for a long time. You want to be still able to dodge. And that's resilience. It just counters CC. It's a good item. You just have to know when to buy it. And we've already explained some CC sources, and against at least 2, this item has way too much value. It's kind of cheap too. So it costs 1,000 credits to buy it completely, up to tier 3. 200, 400, and then 600. That's 1k. That's not a lot, really. Now, in lower elo, people think that Skye is OP. On console, people say that Skye is OP. Well, aim assist is gonna make any close range champion that's hit scan OP. Of course it's gonna be. It's aim assist. It's more like a trigger bot or even hacks, okay? It's really that strong when you're that close to the enemy. This is why Talus is top tier on console, while he's practically a damaged champion that's not even good on PC. Okay, the difference in controls does make a difference in the meta. Now let me show you this item. You don't want to run Skye on really close ranged maps such as Jaguar Falls, because Illuminate is gonna make her literally visible all the time. Literally all the time. Okay, so you're gonna be having a much easier time dealing with her once you've bought Illuminate. Illuminate 2 is more than enough on Jaguar Falls, but still, tier 3 is just gonna make her cry. And then, since she heals herself with a smoke bomb, don't forget about Cauterize. The only reason Skye is top tier and ban worthy for new players is that they don't buy Cauterize nor Illuminate. Now, who else gets affected by Illuminate? Well, Shaolin, he has 2 stealth sources, his ultimate and his withdraw ability. And you've got Strix. These are the 3 stealth champions in the game. Seris actually is in stealth during her shadow travel. You can use it to see her easier, but still you don't really need it. It's Seris. You're playing against Seris, okay? If it's not Soul Collector Seris, you don't need Illuminate to deal with her, okay? And still, even if it's Soul Collector, if she's the only stealth champion on the enemy team, then why would you consider it, okay? Really. It's conditional. Maybe she's really that great and good at being a damaged Seris that you would consider running Illuminate just for her. But still, not really necessary. Okay, it's mostly bought for Skye and Strix. Sometimes people deal with Shaolin without it, but really it's good against him too. And that's Illuminate. So basically we've gone over all the items in the shop. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy Paladins.